The As Is podcast does not necessarily hold the views or opinions of our guests. The guests have a right to express their own thoughts, and those thoughts are protected with their freedom of speech. What they say is what they say, and we allow them the right to speak on their own behalf. The As Is podcast is not responsible nor liable for the opinions and stories of others. Welcome to another edition of the As Is podcast. Today's special guest is none other than Mr. Rodney Perry. Rodney Perry is an American black icon, actor, writer, producer, director, and stand-up comedian. In addition to his many self-made accomplishments and accolades, Rodney was also the one-time sidekick to the controversial comedy queen Monique from The Monique Show. His insights and opinions are a reflection of his life's experience. You know, me and Rodney had a deep, open, honest conversation. Some that unfortunately can't be played on air. However, what we can play, we will play. We're going to start from blacks in the movies and the options they have in distribution. We want you to listen in and hope you enjoy what you hear.
What's changing now is black people are in on distribution. So the landscape is changing, but it's not a fast change, right? Okay. You got a Tyler Perry of the world. Guess what? Tyler Perry changed the game, but when you work in the Tyler Perry universe and you leave, it's like you've never done any work.
What do you mean by that? Define that. Break that down for me.
I got a friend of mine that was a writer over at Tyler Perry.
Okay.
When he left, the industry, as we know it, acted like his Tyler Perry credits were nothing, right? So either he works in Tyler Perry world forever, which there's some drawbacks to that as well, or you go somewhere else and build your own thing that they're not gonna respect.
So you saying? You know what I'm saying? So you saying that white America doesn't respect Tyler Perry, or is it him, or is it just
white America don't respect black? Period.
Right. I get it.
I mean, I don't know how old you are. I'm 51 years old.
56.
I'm first generation free black in America.
Okay.
Like my grandparents weren't free because they had to go through redlining. They had to go, like, the biggest thing they stole from us is equity.
Okay.
Like our grandparents couldn't buy a house. Like there's generational wealth because if your grandparents or your parents could buy a home, then your family could have some wealth in the future.
Okay.
Right? And so none of that's changed. So if you say, all you actors, why don't y'all just do your own thing? You got to say that to everybody, all the steel mill workers. You got to say that to all the people that work in corporate America. You got to say that to everybody.
But why not? Who's saying that you don't say that to everybody? I'm saying say it as black people in general. It doesn't necessarily apply to just television and entertainment. I agree. Right. It should be with everything.
But here goes. We're all Americans still.
You're not American. So, you're not American. And let me define what I mean by that. You're black first. That's what I mean by that. I don't want to say you're not American. I mean you're black first. Do you agree with that?
Well, I'll push back on that a little bit because black is a construct. So is white, right? So you think of like white in America, right? First of all, they changed what white means. This crazy, we talked about this. Just had this conversation last night. My boy, like, you hear all these numbers. We make up 12% of the population. We 4% of the world, blah, blah. And I'm like, who told you that? Right? Who told you those numbers? Because what have white people done over the last 100 years? They've added people to white.
Okay.
Like when we were kids, Polish people wasn't white.
They were Polish.
They were Polish. As a matter of fact, they had derogatory names, Polak.
Yeah, true.
Right? You remember All in the Family?
Yeah.
He was a dumb Polak. He used to say it on the air.
Yeah.
They wasn't white. How about the Italians? At the turn of the century, the Italians wasn't white.
Yeah.
How about the Russians? They weren't even American, and they're more white than us.
Yeah.
So they keep adding. You know who they just added? They just added the Asian, Chinese.
Yeah.
And so they continue to add to what's Caucasian, to what's white, and at the same time, those of us in Black America, we haven't added anything.
But
we haven't added the West Indies.
Why?
We haven't added the Africans from Africa.
Why?
I mean, we don't move like that, and we're not so afraid that we need to.
I agree, but then I don't agree. And here's one of the reasons why I don't agree.
Okay.
If we use Africans for an example, the Africans, according to history, the Benin people actually were the people who assisted and spearheaded slavery by selling other black people. They were in partnership and in bed with white people, European Americans. And for an example, I'm from New York. There are certain parts of New York. New York is not segregated, but in a sense it is, because in different communities you have different sects of people. So in Brooklyn, you might have a West Indian population, then you might have an African population, then you might have the blacks, then you have Puerto Ricans or whatever. But whatever the case may be, each one of those ethnicities, the nationalities that I just mentioned, they are all semi-racist towards black people, with Africans being on top of that list. African people don't normally like black people. Now, I'm talking not as a blanket statement. I don't want to make it generalize that, because there's always exceptions. But there are. No, you know what? Before I interject, tell me how you feel about it.
No, I'm saying it's absolutely a blanket statement, but I get it. I know what you're saying.
Like, but it's true though, man. And that's why I don't think we add on to the blacklist, because nobody wants to add black people at all. Nobody likes us overall. There's no group.
That's not true.
Okay.
But let's look at it though, because you make a great point. And so when you start to look at the actual African populace that are our brothers and sisters,
okay,
they were segmented, right? There's what 100 different languages in Africa.
Okay.
Right. So Africa itself is a segmented population. So it's very difficult. Like you're a lot of people in America, they say, well, why can't we just unite? But it's just not that simple, because your forefathers that happen to be African didn't unite.
Right.
You know, and so as we move, we may be 100 years away from that.
Right. I mean, I agree, but why do we hold what our forefathers did as something that now we can't change and do? Because they didn't do it didn't mean it was right.
No. We're just not far enough away from it. Like you heard me. We're only one generation into freedom.
Right. Got it.
Like, how old are you?
I got it. So
can you say how old you?
I'm sorry. Say that again.
How old are you?
I'm 56.
So you're 56. I'm 51.
Okay.
So our parents, not our grandparents, our parents were a part of the civil rights movement.
True.
Right. So that's billy clubs, that's water hoses, that's all that. That's less than 50 years ago.
Right.
So you and I are born. You're born into Vietnam.
Right.
Right. I'm born just after that, and so, and not to mention our community was ravaged by drugs and things of that nature. So we're still fighting an uphill battle.
Yeah, but
so. I'm sorry. I'm gonna say this.
No.
No. So I say all that to say this is that it feels like we're far away, but we're not.
And I agree. But now let me hit you with a polarizing view of that. Everything that you just said, I agree, and it's very true. But I come from the bloodline of, to hell with the white man, to hell with the drug users, to hell with all of that. I'm on some. Let's stand up and build for our own. It doesn't matter what happened yesterday, because yesterday showed us what happens. Like, one of the things that I have against Hollywood and entertainment in general is I think they perpetuate stereotypes and racism. And here's how I'll say it. They'll come out with a movie, let's say The Butler, or let's say something else. And the movie always digs back into history where the black man was less than. He was the slave, or he's subservient to the white man. He let a white man talk to him all kind of crazy. And then they expect you to watch these type of movies, put this in the atmosphere, and then come back into the real world and have no racism and no bias. Like like you're brainwashing people with these kind of movies, and these movies are winning awards. They're making tons of money, and it doesn't even have to be an old historic movie. It could be a movie that hasn't come out yet, and people buy into that. Then on the other side, they take up issues against other ethnicities. For example, we talked about the Asians earlier and how they're now considered white. In the hood, there's a whole lot of Chinese restaurants and a whole lot of Asian places. And I don't think black people don't like Asians simply because of something that was historic or what they did in Vietnam or whatever. It's just that their attitudes towards black people is as if they are superior to us. So because I know that, and I'm just going to keep it 100 with you, my attitude towards all of them and all of that is fuck y'all. You're not who I'm targeting. You're not my audience. You're not who I need. I am going to do what I know how to do and talk to the people I know how to talk to in a language that they can understand. Why can't we, as people, black people, overall, have that attitude? Because I think saying that we're just one generation away from slavery is somewhat of a crutch. Because as long as we keep saying that, the next time we hear it in 50 more years, we're 2 generations away. 3 generations away. How many generations away is it going to take for black people to say, you know what, later for all those generations away, today I refute white people. And I'm not saying it as to be racist, meaning that support and do your own. It was done at one time in history with Black Wall Street. So you mean to tell me in 2022 we can't do that again? We can't have that mentality?
Is that a question?
Yes, sir.
Here goes, man. And it would be nice if you could reference Black Wall Street and the story didn't end in murder.
Yes.
So
that's true.
So if you're not willing to do some serious killing, then you're probably gonna have to look at the longer race, right? So the longer race, and when I say we're one generation removed, that just telling you that we're in a much longer race. We might be 100 years away from true equality. And you got to ask yourself, do you really want equality? Because equality means your black daughter might date a white male, you know, right. or your black son might date a white girl, you know. So you got to ask yourself, do you really want that? But I mean, what you're saying is not completely off base, but are we going to go to an island somewhere and live separate?
You don't have to. I'm not saying that, and I'm not preaching that. That's not my mentality at all. And the reason why I'll say it is because I tell you, there are also certain sections in every state of America where you have well-to-do blacks. We have blacks that make above poverty line, and they make, you know, they're in the top 10%. And then you have neighborhoods where they're the top 40%. Then you got the ghetto. But there are places where everybody in the neighborhood is black. Like it's in Chicago, it's in Miami, it's in New York, it's in Atlanta, it's all over the place. There are pockets of people that are like that. So I don't believe that we have to do, you know, like history tells us, or like some of our leaders in the past have said, we need to move into our own, you know, communities, and it just has to be black. White people can live there too, but we're not asking for your acceptance. I think the biggest problem with black folks is we beg for acceptance. If, you know, we have to protest, we have to march, we have to loot, we have to chant, we have to do all of these things to get people to acknowledge us and hear our cries and hear our pain. Why, man? I don't need your validation. I don't give a damn if you acknowledge me, accept me. You're not my target market. The world is bigger than your block. And guess what? On the block I come from in the hood in New York, you got Chinese, Dominicans, Cubans, white people. You got them all. And everybody's vying for one thing, to eat. Nobody's asking a white person for validation. Nobody's asking a Cuban for validation. Like New York, to me, and maybe because I'm biased and I'm from New York, is the melting pot of America. When you get outside of New York and you go to any other state, it's really not like that. I got 12 different restaurants in the projects in the hood of different ethnicities and nationalities, and everybody just goes and patronizes each establishment. If you say in Chicago, which I'm in right now, you can't find a Puerto Rican restaurant for 50 miles. You can't find.
I mean, that's my city. I'm from Chicago.
Okay,
Chicago,
so let's talk about Chicago then. Break it down.
Segregated city in America. That's just a fact. That's a truth. You get definitely those restaurants and things in Chicago, but they're not gonna be sitting next to each other because you go in those white areas and get your butt kicked. And so that's just a fact of life. And and the politics and stuff in Chicago is very real. I mean, even have an Obama to rise out of that political area is remarkable. So, I don't think we're on polar opposites here. I just think that ultimately we're in a much longer race in terms of true equality in America.
I agree. And let me ask you this: as a comedian, or just as a human being, what do you think that you have done to contribute to the betterment of your people as well as yourself? How does that work in comedy?
My job ultimately is to lighten the collective burden. People are going through any number of things when they come to a comedy club, and if I can make them forget about it for a few minutes, then I'm winning.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so, that's my bigger purpose. And I'm not deliberately political. I'm not deliberately like I'm not gonna be like Dave Chappelle. I talk primarily about my family and people that I know, but there is a certain responsibility I take on in making people laugh.
Who and what made you have that attitude, that vision, your viewpoint? There was someone that had to influence you to feel that way. Who was
Eddie
it?
Murphy was my muse, if you will, in terms of when I saw him, he gave me a picture of what it could be.
Okay. When did you realize you were funny?
Second grade.
Tell us that experience. How
I
did
had a teacher. I had a teacher that would let me tell jokes at the end of the day if I shut up. That teacher had the wherewithal to get his little black kids some time, and that thing ended up being like one of the catalysts for me being a comedian 30 years now.
Right. Let me ask you this: you said Eddie Murphy was your muse. Give me your top 5 comedians in numerical order or unorganized order, however you want to say it. Who are your top 5 comedians? And I want you to break down why each one is who they are to you.
Well, Richard Pryor is the GOAT in my book.
Okay.
He's the greatest of all time. He showed us how to tell our story. He's definitely on my list. Eddie Murphy would be, if Richard Pryor is the GOAT, Eddie Murphy is his son.
Okay.
And my group are the children of those guys.
Okay.
Right. And then you look at most currently Dave Chappelle. I love what he's doing comedically. I'm a huge fan of his. I like Robin Harris and Bernie Mac as a 4A and B. And Monique, I like to include her on this list because I think women get left behind, and there's nobody that creates at a higher level than she does.
And I don't want you to take it as if I don't want you. I'm ostracizing Monique. I'm not at all. Let me just explain something to you. Like, I'm pro-black, 100% pro-black, and I believe the first teacher of a black man is a black woman. However, that black woman must be properly educated herself in order to teach another black man. So her views and how she's moved, I don't necessarily always agree with, because I think sometimes it's better to, what is that? They got a saying, I remember from a kid, you hear women say, older women say it, I think you attract bees better with honey than vinegar or something like that. I just think that her fight with Netflix could have been handled in a different way, because she could have hit him with the honey. She came out, there are times where I feel like Monique comes out with a fight of a man. And I don't think that's accepted the right way, because a woman, in my opinion, and Monique is no different. It's like, I'm gonna go off the record for a minute. It's like when, coming from the street, sometimes, you're a comedian, you tell jokes, and some people get it, some people don't. But it's like, we could be in a barbershop and we could be having a conversation. This is gonna sound crazy as hell. And we could be talking about oral sex. And somebody might say, well, who would you want to perform oral sex on you? And dudes might say this one, that one, this one, whatever. And just on shock value, I might say Michelle Obama. And everybody is like, the fuck you mean Michelle Obama? And what it is because the perception of Michelle Obama makes brothers, for whatever reason, think that she doesn't perform oral sex on Barack. And my thing is like, why? She's only human. She's only a woman. It doesn't matter how much respect you have for her or her accomplishments. If we're going to be sitting in the barbershop, we're going to keep it real. You telling me you don't think Michelle Obama takes it from the back? My mama took it from the back. So what make Michelle Obama different than my mama? But because of the perception that they have towards her, that's how they feel. So now I can correlate that same type of mentality with Monique. Monique has an aggressive approach sometimes that is manly. She's a feminine woman. Don't get it twisted. However, I think when you're dealing with a power such as Netflix and a never-ending budget and a way to fight you and to shut you up and sit you down, you need honey. Because vinegar, you ain't got enough. That's just how I see it. So with that being said, as far as Monique is concerned, let's flip that to now David Chappelle. Because David Chappelle took a similar route with Netflix as Monique, but it was a different ending. Talk about, or tell me how you feel about David Chappelle in the cancel culture.
I mean, when you start talking about the LGBTQ community and the Dave Chappelle and what he went through, it's not the same conversation.
Why?
In my book, and I'm gonna tell you why.
Okay.
It's not the same conversation because one, the gay and lesbian group is a lot smaller of a group.
Okay.
Right. So it's easier to move when you're a small group. Right. You're essentially the Navy SEALs, right? You get to stay small, you're stealth, you come in before people know you've exacted your will.
Right.
As a black person in America, it's a pretty huge group, right? So it's very difficult to get all those people on the same page at any given time.
Right.
And that in itself affects us. And so when Monique goes, I want y'all to boycott Netflix with me, you're asking a lot of people to agree with you.
Right.
Right. And that's very difficult.
Okay.
Right. Now, if she was a gay person and she asked that, it will be exponentially easier to get it because it's not as many people.
Okay.
Right. Like, I know it seems like a lot of gay and lesbian and trans people in the world, but it's not.
Okay.
It's just not. And so that's why you can have a gay lobby. You can have and how about this? The black gays and the white gays is totally different.
You know what? You're right. And tell me how. How do you see that? How so are they different?
I mean, like, say for instance, when Kevin Hart went through a thing with LGBTQ.
Okay.
My man on CNN, the gentleman, I can't think his name,
I know he's right now. You talking about the black one, or you talking about Anderson Cooper, or are you talking about
Kevin went and talked to Ellen, but they was like, hey, nigga, you ain't talked to us. You ain't talked to the black gays.
You talking about Don Lemon.
Don Lemon.
Right.
And so they're like, hey, how do you not talk to the black gays? And so, I mean, it's really a delicate matter, man. And Kevin, as a friend of his, he took it as a personal affront. Like, people was trying to, stop his ability to earn money. And he was right. And so at the end of the day, man, I think we got to pay attention, whether it's gay or lesbians, straight or whatever it is. When it concerns black, you got to pay attention to what's going on. And
But
You know,
I don't want you to lose your train of thought, but I also want you to answer the question because I want you to tell me how you seen David Chappelle's fight with Netflix be different than Monique's Netflix fight, and why do you think that was?
well, Dave Chappelle wasn't fighting Netflix at all.
Okay, you know
He
what?
wasn't fighting Netflix.
No, no, you're
He's
talking
fighting the LGBTQ.
right, right.
Netflix essentially came to his
Okay,
aid.
yeah, you're right. I'm sorry. You're right.
He did not fight Netflix.
You're
He
right.
didn't say Netflix, you're not doing this
You're right.
because
I'm wrong. You're right. I'm
he's
wrong.
the top 2% of Netflix.
You're right. I'm wrong. You're definitely right. I apologize. You're right. You know what? I
You
just
feel
got.
me?
I got you. You're right. So how do you feel about? Okay, let's just swap the scenarios then. Monique is fighting Netflix. David Chappelle is fighting gays in the LGBTQT. Why do you think the scenarios are different? Because here's why I asked that, and here's why it's a valid question to me. You may feel different, and if you do, say it, and that's fine. The reason why I feel that way is because gays are a smaller population and community than there is for black people, but they're stronger because 9 times out of 10, in every field in entertainment, there are gay people and they have power. Would you agree with that?
Right. Well. People that are gay and lesbian or straight or whatever they have the luxury of not being seen until they want to be.
Right.
They can be stealthed.
Yes.
Right. As a black man in America, I don't get to be stealth.
Right, because you black
Like,
every day. Get it.
I'm black all day, every day.
Right.
Like
Agree.
I can be a black gay man and never announce it. And how about this? If I'm straight, I can't even assume you gay.
Right. I got it.
You can be as sugary as anybody else, but if I can't, I got some gay friends, and I outed a guy.
Okay.
But I didn't realize because he just seemed gay to me, and I outed him. But I found out you can't out somebody that's not out.
Okay.
Right. And so that in itself could have got me blackballed. But at the end of the day, man, to each his own. We're all trying to figure this life out, and it's one of those things. Like whether you're Dave Chappelle or Monique, shit. I told Monique this. I said I'm trying to figure out how to get blackballed.
Right.
Because a guy like Rodney Perry, don't enough white people know I exist to blackball me.
Right. But you know what? Does that not stifle your growth? Because if you have to worry about the things that you say or the jokes that you tell, as a result, if I say the wrong thing, oh my God, they're gonna blackball me. How are you that creative?
I heard somebody say this on a podcast last night.
Okay.
Is if you keep a clean heart, then you can talk about anything. So, like, as long as you're not with malice, if you have malice of intent, that's when people start to go, you're punching down, all these other little phrases. I mean, you can make a joke about anything,
right?
But you have to stay kind. And if you're kind, then everybody can laugh.
Okay.
But if you're mean at all, then people are going to go, that's fucked up.
Let's test that theory. Okay, I'm gonna test your theory. Let's take 3 words. Okay, I'm just gonna pick 3 random words that you would hear in the streets. Okay, and you tell me if what you just said would apply by using these kind of words. If it's mean with malice and intent, or if it's with an open heart. You ready? I'm gonna give you 3 words. First word,
Go ahead.
Gay. Mean with malice or open. What did you say? An open heart or a clean heart?
Oh, you can talk about gay people all day.
Okay.
My cousin Tony was a gay baby. He used to lay in his crib and cry like this. So I can do the joke. I can talk about my cousin. He's gay, and how about this? If I don't do the joke, he gets mad. He's like, "Yo, why you do my joke?" So yeah, that's a perfect example.
Okay, that's one word. The next word is stud.
Again, it's relative to your reference point. I can say bull dagger.
Okay.
And not mean no harm. Which is way more derogatory than stud.
Okay. Now here I'm gonna give you the third word. You ready?
I've even created a word I call lady dude, which is it again, it's the intent. your intent matters. But go ahead, give me the third
Okay, so that's an honorable mention. Lady Dude, for the record, is an honorable mention. You ready for the third
word.
word?
That is my word too.
Okay, you can add that shit. Here's the third word: faggot.
The thing about faggot and faggot, when we were young, it was something we used freely. I mean, still, if you look at some of my text groups up in here with me and my boys talking, we literally say that word every day.
We do.
And how about this? We don't. It's never in reference to a gay dude.
100% agreed.
Right. And so, where that word could be really full of malice and full of pain or whatever. And you know what it's like? It's like the N word. It's like the word nigga.
I'm glad you said that. I'm glad you. Go ahead.
I'll tell you why though. It's like nigga because it don't have a real retort. Like nigga hurts because there is no equal opposite word to say to somebody that call you that.
Right.
And I think faggot might be the same way on their side.
Right. So why do you think it's so hard, or why do you think now that people are so scared to use it? Because in the hood, and where I come from, two words are popular as hell, and it's not fuck you or anything like that. It's faggot and nigga. Like you hear that throughout the English language in the hood all the time, and it's not meant to, it doesn't equate to slavery, and it doesn't equate to gay. But if you come mainstream with it, now it's, oh my God, let's cancel him. Why do you think that is?
It's also like the word becomes attached to pain.
It
like
does.
Say for whether it's nigger or faggot, it becomes so. Like say for instance, the F word, right? It's attached to pain because a lot of guys get murdered.
Right.
A lot of gay guys get murdered and killed.
Right.
Because people look at them as homosexual.
Right.
And so we might not, as heterosexual men, we might not even ever think about that.
Right.
Right. Or it's just not in your wheelhouse of thought. And so now that you think about it, you go, wow, that is crazy. I didn't know you were thinking about it that way. And so you kind of curtail your use of the word. I mean, I try not to I don't use the word nigga in mixed company.
Right. How do you prevent yourself from doing that? Because I say that too, and sometimes it's hard. How do you prevent that?
Like being in a room with your mama, you just don't do it.
Nah, not true. Not with my mama, and my mama passed, but now my mama was a street mama, so she said it more than me.
Right.
I get what you're saying, though.
I would bet it was some word that you did not say around her.
Yeah, it wasn't nigga though. Yes, it was. It was a word. You're right.
But it was something, and you did without even thinking about it.
Right. You that's true. But I don't know. But for me, I don't know about every other person. But for me, it's because I had that level of respect for my mother. Like if I'm casually with some Caucasian people, and sometimes it just comes out, and then sometimes you look.
I don't like to be the one to give them the power to say it on their own.
So how would you react to that when, let's say you went to a dinner and you had a good day, you told her you had a comedy show, you're celebrating, you're winding down, and your guests are all Caucasians, and you're sitting at the table, but
that's never gonna happen.
Why?
I'm never gonna be in a room with all white
Man,
people.
listen, please explain that. Why?
I'm never gonna be in a room with all white people.
Why?
I'm never.
Why?
Because that's just not my world. My world has always got 4 or 5 black people in it. And don't get me wrong, I get it. Like we was talking about, me and my buddy was talking about how a lot of black athletes end up dating white women.
Right.
But what happens is you look around your world and there are no blacks.
Right. I agree with that. But at the end okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
You didn't do nothing to end up in that world. My buddy played college basketball. There was no sisters.
Right.
At the PWI he went to. So guess what? Guess who he was smashing as a college kid? White girls.
Yeah. My son is in Iowa State, and there are really no sisters there either. But my son is.
You gotta your son would have to actively pursue a black girl.
And that's what he did. Like it's the same as the dude that likes to smoke weed. The block is dry, but if you really want some weed, you go find some weed. Exactly. So why not be able to go find a black woman or a
Hey
woman
man,
of color?
most of us ain't that industrious. Most of us is gonna take proximity over a search.
Right. I get it.
And
So
how about this? You like people who like you.
you do. And I agree. I agree with that 1,000%. But let me just take you here. So you say it won't happen with sitting in a room with four white people at the dinner table. Let's hypothetically say, let's just make up an
All right.
analogy. Now, one of those white people, or somewhere along the lines, before the dinner is over, you hear the word nigga. How do you react to that, and what do you say?
I'm gonna consider the context. I mean, is he reciting the rap lyric? Is he going, hey, this nigga Rodney crazy? I don't know what he's saying, but I'm gonna try my best to understand where he was going, and then I'm gonna probably have a chat with him about it.
What would that chat? How would it sound?
What you want me to do? Cuss him out, choke him? What you want?
No, I don't want you to do anything. I'm asking you, what would you do?
I don't know. I have no idea. I
You staying away from that one, huh?
feel like you ain't happy unless I'm choking the shit out of this white man.
Like, I'm not saying that that's what you're supposed to do. If that's what you do, hey, that's what you do. I'm just asking, how would you handle it? And the reason why I'm asking you that is out of a level.
Cut to 10 years from now, they be playing this back to me. So, Rodney, you want to choke the white man,
huh? Hey, but you know what? At the end of the day, I think your job is a little easier because you're a comedian, and comedians can get away with things that ordinary people can't because of the humor.
That is the fact.
So if you said something like that, I don't think it would be taken in the same context as if I asked somebody that was, doing something other than comedy and they gave that type of an answer. Because at the end of the day, I respect you and I respect the level that you're on, but still, you're only human. And I don't think people realize that when people have the problems or go through the things that they go through, it's like they act as if these people aren't human and they have emotions like everybody else. Because you're on TV or because you're in front of a large audience and you're telling jokes does not make you a god and make you, different than the next person. You bleed, shit, and eat just like everybody else do. So why can't you have the same accents as them? That's just my...
What you can't control is when people going to start taking your ass serious.
That's
like,
true.
But you don't know when. And so you could be like, it's like Antonio Brown, right?
Right.
This dude is still a great player, but they talking about putting him out the league.
Right. How do you feel about that? How do you feel about
behavior. They talking about his behavior. They ain't talking about how great of a player he is, which he still is. They're talking about his behavior.
How do you feel about that?
I mean, I think it's whack, but he be doing some crazy shit too.
Right.
But I don't believe in regular people diagnosing a person like they are educated enough to say if somebody's crazy or not.
Right.
That's not your wheelhouse.
Right.
How dare you?
Right. I get it. But let me move on to this. You were in Coming to America too, correct?
I was.
Let's talk about that. When you talk about crazy, what was it like working with Eddie and Arsenio?
It was, the reason I do comedy is Eddie Murphy.
Okay.
So to walk on this set and have this man that I idolize to be like, hey, good morning, Rodney Perry, how you doing, buddy? And I'm like, nigga, who is he talking to? So
right.
It was surreal on a lot of levels. And when I described Eddie Murphy, man, the guy was like being around a real king. Like, he has a regalness about him that kept him above like the trivial nature of things that happen on the set. And I just found him to be a pleasant dude, and he's still the funniest guy in the room. So, you hear some comics. I think Cat Williams in an interview recently talked about Eddie is not the GOAT, and I'm like, the guy single-handedly affected a whole generation of comedians. How is he not the GOAT, or at least the second to the GOAT to Rich Pryor?
Right. Well, let me just ask you this. We're talking about, and understand what I'm saying, we're talking about Cat Williams, man. We ain't talking about playing basketball. We talking about practice. We talking about right. Cat Williams, dude. Like, are you serious to even sit there and listen to what the fuck he's talking about in regards to Eddie Murphy?
But you got to know Cat. Cat is a guy that subscribes to the 48 laws of power. So cats say stuff sometimes just for the attention.
Exactly. That's my point.
And
That's
so
my point.
you can't be mad at him.
I'm
You
not
know, I mean,
mad. I said, well, nigga, this is practice. We not talking
right,
about playing ball. That's what that meant for me. I'm not mad at him, but that's what I'm saying. He says some shit sometimes just for the sake of attention. Because how can you go against Eddie Murphy? Like, I'm a Richard Pryor dude myself, but I still respect Eddie Murphy. I still like Eddie Murphy. That's my
right.
personal thing. Now, how about Arsenio? How was that?
Arsenio Hall is if Eddie Murphy is Arsenio Hall is just the coolest dude in the world. So I had my own podcast. I had interviewed Arsenio before.
Okay.
So when I hit the set, Arsenio was like the homie,
Right.
you know, and so he's just always been cool to me, and so he's the one that educates Eddie if Eddie don't know who you are.
Right.
Like
Okay.
if Eddie don't know who you are, Arsenio, hey man, that's a nigga Rodney Perry, nigga funny, cool as hell.
Right.
Da,
Right.
da, da, da. So that's why you need Arsenio. Because
Okay.
Eddie rich. Eddie, he not only rich, he been rich.
Right.
Like this nigga been rich 30 years.
Right.
So it's certain people he don't know.
Right.
And Arsenio is rich too, but he's closer to the people.
Right. So are you saying that basically, well, obviously this is what you're saying, but I'm going to say what I'm going to say anyway. And what I was going to say
Go
is,
ahead, go ahead.
are you saying that people that are rich on certain levels, like a Eddie Murphy, live in a bubble because they don't know what's going on outside of that bubble?
I mean, to a certain extent, absolutely.
Wow.
You know, I mean, Kevin Hart is my friend, but that nigga live in a bubble.
Wow. Really?
You
Kevin
know,
Hart? Well, wait. Kevin Hart?
absolutely. Like my best friend writes for Kevin.
Okay.
I tell him all that, and it's not even Kevin. It's the people who work with him. I say y'all live in a bubble. Y'all live in the Kevin Hart bubble. Y'all don't know what it is to be out here in these streets.
Right.
You know, y'all not even Kevin. Y'all getting 5, 6,000, 10,000 a night. You don't have to haggle with a club owner about 2,500, 3,500,
Yeah.
4,500. You ain't got to
Yeah.
do that.
Yeah.
So that creates a bubble in itself.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that. So let me ask you, do you still go through things like that?
Sorry, one more time.
I'm asking, do you still go through things like having to get ready to whoop a club promoter's ass and get your money?
I I don't have to kick nobody ass, but I mean, it's definitely a constant reintroducing yourself, and I feel for anybody that's less famous than me
Right. And why? Tell me
because it's
why.
hard. The game is hard.
How so?
Okay? The game is hard. Like I said, you're in a constant battle to reintroduce yourself to stay relevant. I mean, Rodney Perry, I'm 30 years in the game. I'm still relevant.
Right.
You know, whether you're talking to the Carlos Millers of the world or the motherfucking, you know, or Kel Mitchell, those guys, or Bill Bellamy, you know, you can't say my name and not get a certain amount of respect.
Right. I get it. Just because you've been around that long.
I've been around and I'm a cool nigga.
Right. I hear you. So let me ask you this. I want you to be cool with it. Uh, do you think Coming to America 2 was as great as Coming to America 1? And why are there whispers that say it fell short based on 1?
I mean, you got so many people to service. You got actors to service. You got, Eddie Murphy. Like the movie we shot and the movie y'all saw is two different movies.
How
Like
so? I don't understand. Break it down.
like Eddie Murphy and Arsenio had probably like four other characters that you didn't see.
Okay.
Um, the story about the son was way more in depth. Uh, my story with me and Lunell and Tracy Morgan was more in depth. Um, oh, oh, is it the same movie? No, but it's a sequel. Sequels rarely live up to the first movie,
Okay.
especially one 30 years removed.
Right.
So you had to bring people up to speed. There's talk of making another one,
Okay.
but I'm sure it would have to be the right script and everything. But I mean, I'm thankful to be a part of it because, man, when I tell you that check was something else,
Was it?
That motherfucker was incredible.
Is it one of the highest you've ever seen?
For the very first check, yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because I've been in other movies, John on Vacation. I was in a movie called Medea's Big Happy Family, and I still get money from those movies. But this one as a first check, that is absolutely the biggest one for me personally.
Wow. So you're telling me Eddie Murphy brings and commands more money than Tyler Perry?
Well, the movie did better.
Right.
You got so all that's relative to how the movie does the box office.
Right. I know.
We were released Coming to America during the pandemic, and they sold it for 150 million to Amazon. Right.
Right.
So everybody's seen it and streaming. So my check is relative to streams.
Right.
But because it didn't come out the movie theater, it went to streaming immediately.
Right.
So I got a check maybe 3 months later.
Right. Got it. Let me ask you this, since we're speaking on like a Tyler Perry issue, why do you think Tyler Perry's movies aren't as effective as some other black movies? And he's kind of like I think he's suddenly been put into a box to where everybody black is not in support of him anymore because his movies have a certain stigma to them. Like,
I don't think that's fair. I mean, I agree with you, but I don't think it's fair because when you're black, you have to affect the entire blackness.
Okay.
Like, you don't get the luxury of genre. Like, Will Ferrell can make movies for 50-year-old white males.
Right.
And have a career.
Right. Tyler
Perry has to affect all black. He got to affect the old women, the young men, the young women, the old. He has to sweep so broad in a single movie. It's just not fair. And then that's part of being black in America.
Right. But there are other producers that can swing, as you say, and kind of like catch everybody. Let's just use an example.
No.
Say like,
but that's the problem. If you're a black producer, you have to catch everybody.
Right.
You don't get the luxury of genre. Like you don't get just to make a comedy. The comedy got to have some drama in it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
I agree. And I think Madea started off and it was excellent. And I think in the beginning it kind of just like it swept across everybody. But then I think, I don't know, somewhere along the lines in those Tyler Perry movies, it's like you lose interest, so you lose.
Madea still does better than everything he does.
She probably does, and I'm not saying she doesn't. And I'm not saying this is a hit against Tyler Perry. I'm just saying overall in the black community, if you go to the movie theater, and I'm black, and I still mess with the hood, you go to the movie theater, and if there's a Tyler Perry movie playing, and there's some white playing, like we're all like, nah, let's go watch the white boy movie. Everybody ain't jumping up to see Tyler Perry.
I'm gonna go see the black movie 100% of the time.
Yeah, I'm pro-black, but depending on what's playing, I'm not. There have been some Tyler Perry movies that I'm not going to see.
You ain't pro-black then.
I am. Oh, well, you know what? That's great. I'm glad. You know what? I like you, brother, because you're very observant. So what you're telling me is because if I don't go see a black movie, then I'm not pro-black. Yeah. How do you feel about black men that marry white women? Are they pro-black? Can you be pro-black and married to a white person?
Hey, my uncle was married to a white woman. My favorite auntie, she gave her your gift for every holiday. She'll give you a motherfucking Arbor Day gift. You know, this lady was so.
Okay.
But I mean, people love who they love. To be honest, but I mean, I never judge a black man.
Don't get away from it. See, because you hit me with some shit, and I hit you back.
I don't judge a black man for who he loves, but I will say this: that if you exclusively date white women because they white, that's whack.
Okay. I mean, I think that's what most black men do because when they grow up in the communities that we grow up in, there ain't no white people coming up. You don't get around them white people until you get you some money. And I'll even go further to say the discriminatory practices that black men, I got, unfortunately, several baby mamas, and one of them is Hispanic, it's Puerto Rican. And
that's because you're from New York. You're in New York. You got access to Puerto Rico.
Yeah, but you know what? Let me break something down that most people don't understand. That's very true what you said. But at the end of the day, still and all, and I have a Puerto Rican baby mama, so I can confidently say this. Until I start getting some money, they ignored us. Like if you ain't getting no money, you ain't getting no mommies. Like that's just how it was. I come from the drug dealer era. And the era was when you had to have a Mercedes or a BMW or whatever. You could get a black woman riding on the train all day. Puerto Rican girls was ignoring your ass. Right. When you pulled up in that Mercedes or that BMW, then it was, hi, Poppy. You know, it went a little further. But that's a discriminatory practice. And the crazy thing about being a part of that practice is as a black man, you know that you need to get you some paper to even get to talk to her. It's the same shit to me as for white women. Ain't no white women growing up in the projects.
It's similar, but not the same.
Why not? What makes it different? Because at the end of the day, excuse what I'm going to say, pussy is pink. It don't matter if it's white, black, Puerto Rican, or African. It's all pink. So how is it different? Because what you're saying is that's getting ready to put them on a higher level than a black woman.
But you got to also realize that you're affected by New York City. New York City, like you said earlier, it's a melting pot.
Yes.
So you're subject, like you're gonna look at that totally different than I'm gonna look at it.
Okay.
You know, I'm from Chicago, and then a brother that grew up in Dallas is gonna look at it way different.
Right. Because they ain't got the Puerto Ricans there. I get what you're saying.
So geography is gonna affect that.
Yeah, I agree with that. I'll back down and I'll give you a pass on that one. But I ain't giving you a pass because I pass up on the Tyler Perry movie and I'm pro-black and I go watch something made by a white man. I love Tyler Perry. I'm supporting Tyler Perry, but just some of those movies I can't relate to it.
I can't say I wouldn't go see an action movie over a Tyler Perry movie. I can't say that. And it just happened to be produced by a white person. I'm not even going to even look that hard at it, to be honest.
Right. Yeah.
Because Tyler Perry movies skew like female movies to me. So if I got to pick between The Matrix or motherfucking Tyler Perry, I'm probably going to pick The Matrix.
Exactly. Like, and that's just what it is because I think he has a cliche.
But I'm not going to consider it either. I'm not going to go, is this a white movie? I'm not going to ever say that. You know what I mean?
I don't think we subconsciously do that. I think it just comes out. I think that's like one of the things that's known to the unknown. And when I say that again, here's why I say that. Here's what I mean. It's just like what I was saying with a black man because I've been in this experience before. I knew in my heart, unless I had some money, she wasn't talking to me. I can get the baddest black girl on the block, broke. But when it came to the Puerto Ricans on the block I came from, if you wasn't getting no money, and she could have been a mediocre Puerto Rican, she wasn't talking to you. But I got the baddest black girl on the block, and she gonna hang out with me. So that's why I'm kind of like biased when I hear brothers talk about black women and how they don't do this. And I don't agree with that shit at all. Like, because I've been in situations where, you know, beautiful black women will hold you down and give you a shot, and you ain't got a pot to piss in. But then we get a little bit of money, niggas is like, fuck black girls. I want this bad Puerto Rican. And knowing in your heart, you know, nigga, you ain't get fined overnight. Nigga, you got a car now and you got some money. That's why you got her. And that's just where it is for me. Okay, let's move on to this. Where do you see yourself in the next 5 years?
I mean, we on track to start producing and directing and really take everything to the next level. I got a big movie coming out in a couple of months in April.
Okay.
And I think that's going to be a catalyst to like some more just money, you know, and money equals people. And so, and I'm developing my social media too, and creating a revenue stream out of that. So just a little richer as we move into the next 5 years.
That's what's up. When you say, what is the movie that you're coming out with?
I did a movie with Joe Coy, Filipino headliner.
Okay.
Called Easter Sunday. It comes out Easter Sunday. And yeah.
What is it? Is it like an action movie? Is it a crime movie? Is it a thriller?
It's kind of a family film.
Oh, okay. All right.
I think it could do for Filipinos what Crazy Rich Asians did for the Chinese and Japanese community.
Okay. And you say as far as your social media, you're trying to create a revenue based on that. Let me ask you this. How hard do you think that is? Or how hard is it actually to do that?
It's not as easy as you would think.
Right.
In terms of like to move people via social media is not easy.
Right.
But it's one of those things that you just got to give it some energy.
Right.
You know, once you give it some energy, once you push it down the hill, like I see my friends go from no engagement to where they make 20, 30,000 a week on social.
Right. Yeah, that's
Once
hard
you
though.
start moving like that, then they come out, they buy tickets, they see you live. It all go together.
Right. Oh, well, how can people get in contact with you? What are your social media platforms so if people are interested, they can go to them?
Easy to find, man. My website is rodneyperry.com,
Okay.
and Perry live on all social media.
Okay. Any plans to work with anybody that we might know about in near future? Say, are they going to be? Because I don't know. I don't know if you can stand up to the same level that you on. And what I mean by that is like you worked with the top of the top from Eddie Murphy. So in my opinion, and I'm not saying it to be malicious, you can't work with anybody other than him and go and help but to go down.
Well,
you know what I mean?
No, I'm a Don Cheadle fan. I would love to work with him.
Okay.
I mean, Angela Bassett is still.
Oh, you're talking. Oh, wait, you're talking about. Oh, see, no, I was thinking comedy. When you said Don Cheadle and Angela Bassett, you're talking movie.
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm talking.
okay.
I'm a real actor, so
okay.
I want to work with Coma. I would love to work with Denzel. I would like to work with Denzel in the comedy.
Wow. Do you think that would work?
Shit, it worked for me.
Man, I know it'll work for you. But do you think Denzel is funny? Like, do you think he's funny? Because I think he's just like a serious actor.
Denzel is hell.
Huh? Say it again. I'm sorry.
I bet Denzel is funny as hell.
Why you think that though?
I mean, anybody can do drama like that can do comedy.
You think so? So you don't think comedy is a gift? Like you got to have a certain quality to be able to make a nigga laugh.
Comedy is definitely a gift, but when you can act the way he can act,
right,
you can pull it off.
Wow. Okay. So Don Cheadle, Denzel Washington, Angela Bassett, and who else? That's on your goal poll.
Oh man. I mean, I would love to work with Eddie again.
Okay.
I would love to work with Monique. That's my friend. I would love to to share the screen with her. Because we share the screen on TV, but we never been in a movie together.
What did you guys? I remember that show. What was the name of that? Was it The Parkers?
No, I wasn't in The Parkers. I was on the Monique show with her.
The Monique show. Wait a minute. What was give me a synopsis of that show because I can't remember.
It was a late night talk.
Oh, okay, okay. What happened?
It just ended when the shit was over.
Okay, all right. What was it? Cable or regular TV?
BT.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, listen. Man, I appreciate you for taking out your time. You're a very intelligent brother. Sometimes comedians are just dumb. Like, I think they're funny because they're dumb. I'm not going to put you in that category at all, and I'm not targeting anybody.
I can be dumb sometimes, but yeah.
Yeah, but you got an intelligence to come behind it, and that's what's very important. You know what I mean? Like, you got to have some kind of smarts with you, and I respect the fact that you have the smarts to come behind it. Because, again, like, I have these kind of conversations with people about drug dealers. And I think I had this with someone last night, and, I tell her I'm a hustler. She tells me, you're not a hustler. You're a different type of hustler. And she considers a drug dealer that gets his money and goes and buy a kilo a hustler. And I don't agree with that. And the reason why I don't agree with that is because anybody can save their money and go buy some cocaine or some weed or whatever. But I think a hustler is one who can walk into the room and go to the Connect and tell them I ain't got no money, but I got this block and this is how much I can make. And the Connect gives you whatever he's going to give you, and you walk out and go sell it. That's a hustler. And the reason why I say that's a master hustler, because you didn't talk to Connect out the work. I didn't have to have money. You know what I mean? Like, it's a mentality. Like, sometimes we're, and this is somewhere I'm taking it way left. And you tell me if you agree with this or not. But I feel like when you are who you are, you don't need to have what everybody else has. And my proof of that is, see Jay-Z walking around with 1 million chains on no more. 50 Cent don't walk around with 1 million chains no more. When them niggas was broke, they wanted to make you buy into a facade, into a belief that wasn't really in existence. So that's why they had those chains. But now when you are who you are, I don't need all that to pull that off. If I'm a hustler, nigga, I don't need $32,000 to buy a key. I can go talk to Poppy, and Poppy know my credentials and my history, and I'm going to say, yo, I got this block, and this is what I need. If you a hustler and he believe in your hustle, he going to give it to you on consignment. If you just a little goofy ass nigga that done saved up some money, that's all you can do to get Poppy to even get your attention. Because if you ain't got no money, you not even getting in the room. But when you are who you say you are, I don't need all that. Would you agree with that?
I mean, I ain't no drug dealer, but it makes sense.
Well, it don't
they give me drugs 101.
Yo, man, you know, I'm I've been to jail before, man. You know what I mean? Like, I did my time. I'm no longer in the game, but you know, when something is a part of you, it's a part of you. And I think that is the reason why I'm trying to strive to do what we're trying to do now in this entertainment game, because I learned the game from the streets. And I think when you learn certain things, certain parts of it, the aspects of that, all you have to do is transition it. And everybody can't do that. And I think that's what makes you a master of whatever it is. That's why you might be a master comedian. I'm not going to sit here, you know what I mean? Because David Chappelle may sell more tickets than you doesn't mean that he's a master comedian. He just sells more tickets than you, because you may have the power to walk into a Netflix or HBO or Showtime and get something done where you don't have to come up with a budget. You came up with your words, and then white folks is willing to buy into them words. Whereas David Chappelle is going to sell 1 million tickets, but then white folks are still going to say, we need you to put up $250,000 to go towards the set. There's a difference. And I don't think people realize those type of differences, and there are. And that's what makes you a master. They got something called Masterclass, and I've honestly never watched it. And the reason why I've never watched it is because I don't believe a masterclass of Oprah is going to be equal to a masterclass of the streets, because it's 2 different types of rules. And that shit she talking about don't work on the streets. But the shit that we talking about on these streets, you can take into her classroom and apply it. That's just my personal opinion. But listen, brother, I don't want to hold you up. I really appreciate you. I definitely have a new level of respect for you, for your intelligence, for your conversation, and I wish you nothing but the best. How can people get in contact with you if they choose to?
I mean, the best way is hit the website of social media, Rodney Perry Live on all social media, and you know, I'm not hard to find.
Okay. Yo, listen, man, much love, much success, and maybe we'll do this again when you get on that, what is it, the Filipino movie? I'll come back at you.
Yeah. Easter Sunday, absolutely. We'll do it.
All right. Thank you, brother.